Greetings all. Many of you know that I am a big fan of the Audio Damage EOS 2 Reverb plugin. Well, I gotta tell you, I was super excited today when I saw in my email that Audio Damage has shipped version 2 of the EOS plugin. Ha! So as soon as I could, I bought the upgrade, installed it, and on today's video, I'd like to give it a run through for all of you. So first off, this plugin has 4 different types of reverb. It's got 3 plate models, and by the way, plate 3 is new for version 2. So plate 1, 2, and 3, and a super hall model, which is super awesome. The plates are interesting. Plate 1 actually sums the input to mono and then outputs that as the stereo signal. Plate 2 is a little bit different. If you've got a stereo signal incoming into the plugin, let's say you've got a submix or something, it will retain the stereo signal and run that through the reverb plugin as stereo. And then plate 3 is a wider version in terms of stereo than plate 2. And Super Hall does super stuff. That's all I can say. It's really cool. All right. So let's take a listen to just plate 1 with some kind of standard default settings. That's a really nice sounding reverb. Okay, couple knobs here to be aware of. One is mix. I've got it set to 51%, so about half wet, half dry. There's also decay knob, which controls the overall length of the decay from 0.2 seconds all the way up to 10 seconds. I had it in the middle. Let's try real short here. That's very short. Let's try longer. Yep, that's pretty long. All right, back to the middle with ya. Next up is pre-delay. And if you're familiar with the concept of pre-delay, you're basically adding a short delay before the reverb decay actually starts. So let me go ahead and add about 40 seconds or so. Listen to this. So can you hear that? A little bit of a delay. Let's increase it to 161. Okay, quite a bit longer, and then all the way up to 300. All right, bring it back down here. That's good. Next is the attack, which is kind of interesting. This knob varies depending on the reverb type. So if you're plate 1 and 2, I think it controls really kind of the presence of the reverb decay. So there's no attack. So you can hear it's a subtle difference. Okay. And again, it varies kind of on what it does. With Super Hall, it actually controls the initial decay, the curve of the decay. So as you adjust the attack, the decay curve is it's not a linear straight line. You can actually have an initial decay happen a little bit shorter or longer, and then the rest of the decay kind of just fade on out. Okay, and next we've got some modulation. So this allows you to modulate your reverb. And we have rate and depth. Let's make it kind of ridiculous here. It's kind of nice. Actually, if you bring the size down, you can almost use it as a chorus in a sense. All right, so we'll leave some mellow modulation going here. All right, that's nice. Next up is diffusion, and this controls kind of the washiness, if you will, of the overall reverb decay. So no diffusion. Lots of diffusion. So you can hear how it really kind of smooths the reverb out. Okay, and then size, let's bring that size all the way up. This is actually the size of the room. It goes from, actually I should have said this, 3.8 meters all the way up to 60 meters. So you can hear it's a much bigger space sounding-wise than 3.8 meters. Quite a bit different. Quite a bit of difference. There we go. So if we bring the decay and the size up and maybe increase the mix a little bit, here's what we get. Very nice. Next up are the low and high multipliers, and these are really kind of cool. What each one of these does is it controls the decay time of a frequency range. So low multiplier does what you would expect. It controls how long the lows decay out, and you can see here, you can go from half 0.5x to 2x. And the same with the high multiplier. Goes from 0.5 to 1. Okay, so using this, you can, they're not tone controls, but it changes the mix of the decay as it occurs. So let's bring the high multiplier down a good bit. And by the way, these crossovers control at what points these knobs affect. So let's bring the low up a little bit. There we go. And we should hear, I'm hoping, a fairly mellow kind of thing going on in the decay. Let's try this. There we go. Isn't that nice? You can hear that the highs are in there, but they fade quicker than the lows. Let me bring the low multiplier all the way up. So over time, you can hear that the decay gets more muffled, more mellow sounding. Now let's try the low multiplier down and the high up and see what we get here. Isn't that cool? As that decay happens, there's less and less lows in it as it fades out. And if you bring them both all the way up, very nice. All right, low cut, high cut, they do what you would expect. If we're cutting the lows, it basically controls the frequency at which the lows are going to start dropping off, regardless of the decay. So if I bring this up to, let's say, 1300 hertz, very tinny sounding. Maybe if I want to bring the highs down, I can do that too. So here we go. Kind of a more mid-range, kind of heavy thing. All right, so you've got a lot of options there. All right, finally, let's kind of check out the different types. So we've been listening to plate 1. Let's listen to plate 2 and 3 in the Super Hall. So let me play plate 1 again. Now let's try that with plate 2. Now let's try plate 3. And you can hear plate 3 is a wider stereo image than plate 2. And finally, the Super Hall. I mentioned that's my favorite. It really is. It's awesome. They're all very nice though. And then lastly, we've got a button here that allows you to create an infinite decay, which really is an oxymoron. Here we go. You can hear that'll get out of control, but one of the great things is you can use an automation lane in your DAW software to turn the infinite switch on and off and control the reverb decay to create some really nice sounding drones. Well, there you have it, the Audio Damage EOS. Man, what an incredible plugin. And version 2 is no slouch. If you don't already have the EOS, or if you have version 1, the version 2 of EOS is well worth looking into. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. I've got ambient guitar-related content coming every week. I'd love to have you on board. Also, if you haven't yet checked out Chords of Orion music, I would really love it if you would do that too. I've got a Bandcamp page, and Chords of Orion music is also on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Google Music, everywhere you can think of. I'll include some links to my music in the video description. And as always, I will see all of you on the next video.